Well, here we are. It's a Sunday morning on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, our Sunday morning coffee with Cioffi and Rayo, as our May winter hopefully is coming to an end today. Yesterday, Mr. Rayo, in my view, and you and I have combined done this for 80 years. We've seen some really weird things happen in those 80 years. But I have to tell you, yesterday you couldn't write science fiction better than you could yesterday. It was just crazy. It was just an absolutely crazy, crazy day for the month of May.
Joe, we knew that this was happening or was going to happen quite a few days in advance. And you look at the numbers on the computer, on your monitor, or even write things down on a piece of paper. But to actually see it take place, I did a double. I had a feeling it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. About 12:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, looking out the sliding glass doors here in my house, seeing it coming down at light to even moderate snow, and saying, "Oh my God, it's actually happening! It's doing it!" And then waking up the next morning and finding my deck coated with snow, the grass coated with snow, and a windy, cold day. It did not get. I know that Central Park got what to 48, 49 yesterday.
Yeah.
Up here, we didn't get any higher than 43, and this came off a morning low of 30. So it was every bit a day like early February in early May yesterday, and a crazy day, one which you and I probably are not going to see again because this is like a once in 40.
I really thought yesterday was just brutal. I mean, if you just seasonally adjust some of the anomalies, there were places down, by the way, down Washington D.C., for example. I think there were places there that in that general area that didn't get out of the 40s either. You had anomalies that were running 25 degrees below average. And what I always like to do to illustrate, when you get out of season stuff like this, is to seasonally adjust it. Take the anomaly that you had yesterday and apply it, say, in the middle of January. So you were probably talking about the equivalent of a day in January where temperatures probably wouldn't have gotten much above 10 or 12.
Right.
Single digits and low teens. That would have been your high, and your lows would probably have been down between 0 and -10. I mean, that's how out of sync the atmosphere was yesterday.
And the other thing to note, and this is the thing that brought a smile to my face, a smile, and then I shook my head, was when the National Weather Service put out a tweet yesterday, and I put this up on my Facebook pages. The fact is that on Long Island, Islip MacArthur Airport went the entire month of February without snow. Yesterday they had
I did.
yesterday
Go ahead.
they had a trace of snow yesterday, so it goes now into the record book that in the winter of 2020 or the winter slash spring of 2020, the month of May had more snow at Islip than in the month of February.
It was really preposterous, and I think you had zero, at least for central for islip, which is one particular point is not representative of an entire multi-thousand square mile area, but it's still important. But you're right, no snow in February, zero, zero, not even a flake or an ice pellet. A trace in March, a trace in April, and a trace in May. I
Right.
mean that really speaks to just the kind of season that it was.
It was.
And now I said yesterday I had put a Facebook post up. Of course, because me, I have to piss off as many people as possible. So I went after the geoengineering folks. You know, basically being honest about the fact that I'm on the payroll, the government payroll, to orchestrate the weather. So now that we've engineered winter in May, and with everything else going on, I think next week we have a tropical storm scheduled for next weekend. And it was kind of funny because I've been watching the GFS and the European, because they do spin up a little. They've been spinning up a low down over Cuba and the Bahamas, and kind of shooting it up northeastward. So listen, if we wind up with a I'm not saying it's going to be, but if we do wind up with a named tropical storm this month outside the norm of the hurricane season, which starts June 1st, I believe it will be the fifth May in the last 6 years where we've had a named storm in the month of May. So
Yeah.
and it would come, it's going to come within a week or two of this Mother's Day, because 2 weeks from now is Memorial Day weekend, so that's the 25th or whatever day it is. So yeah,
Right.
it's all nuts. Everything is nuts. The world is nuts. We're all locked down, quarantined. I think we're all just losing it at this point. By the way, let's say Happy Mother's Day this to everybody's all the moms that are watching, or those of you who have with your moms, happy Mother's Day. Your mom, Joe, happy Mother's Day. My mom is setting up a Zoom video chat after the show. She's on the computer right now just getting it all ready. My 85-year-old mother is tech savvy. Okay, she is tech savvy.
Yeah.
We also want to say a happy birthday to the chairman, our Scott Briller, who is turning, how shall we say, 29 for the 31st time.
Yes. It's
Okay. And
a milestone.
what's that?
A milestone.
Yes. Listen, anytime you still go, as the years go by, you stop counting. As long as you keep having birthdays, it's a far better thing than not being able to have birthdays. So just
I
keep counting the numbers.
I also want to wish a happy birthday to my aunt Vivian. Now she is not really my aunt per se. In fact, her nephew uh, Andrew Maniglia, who by the way was the deputy mayor for some years back in the '90s of Yonkers, but we grew up together in Throgs Neck. I've known him about as long as anybody, and his Aunt Vivian has been a good friend of my mom. In fact, worked at the hospital where I not where I was born. I was born in a hospital in Uptown, 86th Street, and I wasn't doing all that well immediately after I was born. And they brought me down to I think University Hospital in Lower Manhattan, where Vivian was, and she saw me before my mother, and all of these years I've always known her as Auntie V or Aunt Vivian. Anyway, Vivian is celebrating a birthday today too. So
Well,
I want
happy
to
birthday to Aunt Vivian.
and
What
Vivian.
hospital on 86th Street in Manhattan? Do you
Uh,
remember?
Joe, it was a hospital that more or less was kind of like not really a hospital. It was more or less a hotel. And
No,
what?
I know the hospital you're talking about, because I used to, when I was a teenager, I worked at a supermarket on 89th and Lex,
Right,
and I believe that the hospital was on 86th or 87th Street,
right,
between Lex and Third. And you're
right,
right. It looked like it was a brownstone hotel.
right.
And I remember one of the doctors from that worked there used to shop at the supermarket, and he was, it was hysterical. Even at that time, you'd see doctors coming out smoking. You
My
know.
my wife just said on the intercom here, she thinks it's Doctor's Hospital. That's what it was
Oh, is
called.
that what it was called? Yeah, that sounds familiar. I don't think it's there anymore. It was just kind
No,
of
it's
a,
not.
yeah. It's all good. I was a New York hospital baby, 70
Right.
71st and York Avenue.
I mean, what happened was is that I was in such a condition that they thought they were going to lose me. They said we don't have the facilities here to help to get this child through. So my grandfather just literally grabbed me. You can figure this out now. See if this can happen today. He grabbed me, wrapped the blanket around me. He and my grandmother they jumped in the car and drove down to this university hospital where they had all the facilities, the incubators, everything that you would need, and that's where I was. I was born on August 17th. I did not leave that hospital until August 2nd is my birthday. I didn't leave until August 17th. So that's where. And Vivian was the one who more or less took care of me and watched over me over all of those days. So all of these years later, I know she's not watching, but I'm going to tell her that we're wishing her
Oh,
a
hap,
happy birthday on the Joe and Joe show. What more of a birthday present can you have than something
there
like
is no better birthday present. Let's really quick, because we're going to cut the show short today. We're going to go to 11:30. So let's do Briller Jeopardy now. Then we'll take a look at the weather going on. So the Briller Jeopardy questions are: How many library talks has the chairman? How many of my library talks has the chairman attended?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sure that he's such a big fan of yours that he's attended all of them, and he'll be and will all be at your next library talk, which is online, I believe, this coming Tuesday
That's
night.
Tuesday from Westwood Library in Westwood, New Jersey. I'll give you more details on that tomorrow. It'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern time, the time of the regular live stream. And tomorrow I'm going to work on getting all the technicals taken care of so that we can do both streams at the same time. So everybody keep their fingers crossed. So what's the answer?
I said all of them.
No,
Has
three. He's attended three. He hasn't attended all of them. He's
well,
attended
you know,
three.
how would I know something like that, Joe?
Well, that's not the point. What
I
upstate New
either
York's
to me it was either zero or all of them.
okay?
You're giving me
What
a specific number.
What upstate New York snow city did the chairman grow up in?
Oh, well, Snow City.
Yes.
It could be Rochester. It could be Syracuse. It could be Watertown. It could
Pick
be,
one.
huh?
Pick one.
Was that one of them?
Yes.
I'll say Syracuse.
Rochester. How
Roch.
many people of the Joe and Joe show has the chairman met?
Um, well, he's met you. He's met you. He's never met me.
Well, outside of me.
I don't know. From the chat board, maybe he knows Mr. Veltman. Maybe he knows a few other people. I don't know. I'll say four.
7.
Seven.
What is
Okay.
the average airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
The average airspeed of an unladen swallow.
Now, it does make a difference if it's an African or a European swallow. This is
Uh,
Monty Python. You should know this.
I shouldn't
It's from
I?
Holy Grail. Actually, they never tell you what is the average airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow.
All right.
Okay. So
All right.
anyway, let's move along. One of
You don't
the
see my magic act putting bricks to sleep by hypnosis?
right, exactly. Right.
Right.
So weather-wise, we are in. It's kind of quiet. Look, looking ahead to the week, there's not a whole lot happening, and I guess it's not unusual considering the fact that we're just coming out of this brutally cold air mass. We're seeing temperatures bounce already. We aren't even at noon times, Joe. At noontime yet, Mr. Rayo. It's already up into the 50s, so we're already far better than where we were yesterday. And I'm just putting up the watches and warnings map across the United States. There really isn't much going on at all. We don't have any kind of severe weather going on today. It looks pretty quiet. There is some rain down in Florida and some rain around the Great Lakes, and a little bit of some freeze warnings up in parts of Minnesota and Iowa and the Dakota, and South Dakota and Nebraska. But really, it's a very very quiet scenario across the U.S.
Yes, it is. It is. The only problem may come, excuse me, later in the week when we have to deal with some showers. And what about thunders? I didn't even look at SPC yet. Do we have a chance for a thunderstorm tomorrow in the
Yeah, not
SPC?
only do we have a chance for a thunderstorm, but SPC actually has a risk zone in parts of the Northeast. Let's go to that. Let's take a look at what SPC is doing. And for this afternoon, there's a marginal risk of severe weather in parts of Indiana, Ohio, and northeastern Kentucky. And they also have a marginal risk in West Texas and New Mexico. But as we move on to tomorrow, Joe, the SPC has a general risk of thunderstorms from central New Jersey and northeastern Pennsylvania, northeast into Maine, and a marginal risk of severe weather for most of Connecticut. And you're kind of right on the southern edge. It looks like the southern edge of that is right on Route 84, and then it loops around and heads northward into southern Vermont and southern New Hampshire. So it covers all of that, virtually all of Massachusetts. So we've got a large, I could see SPC maybe stretching that area out just a little bit further to the south on Monday.
Good.
And marginal risk also West Texas, eastern New Mexico. And then on Tuesday, there's no severe weather risk showing up anywhere around the U.S.
Right. Only general thunderstorm coverage, central U.S., southern plains, and even reaching back north and west into portions of the Pacific Northwest where they don't get a lot of thundery weather, but they still have that in the outlook for them on Tuesday.
So we've got a weather system. I've got the satellite loop up, and of course we are there's clouds way up in upstate New York and northern New England, but from there south down into Virginia, North Carolina, and west into, well, let's say west central PA right now, it looks pretty good. There are clouds beginning to stream across Ohio, Indiana, and western PA. And as you look at the loop, there's a little bit of a rotation there that's in the western lakes. That is the northern stream energy that is coming down. There's also some tropical moisture that is shooting up from the Caribbean across the northeastern Gulf, across the eastern Gulf of Mexico over Florida, and running northeast from there. There's a southern stream system here, but the two streams are going to stay separate. The northern energy that is up in the lakes, Joe, that's really the player for tomorrow. It it oh, sorry, just a second. It's doing this again. I can't understand why my pen is going crazy. All right, let's try this again. See if I can draw this. So here's your northern stream system. That's going to be our player for tomorrow. All of this southern moisture here, that's all going to stay separate and not really get involved with that northern energy. So it'll be whatever it can manage to grind out tomorrow as it swings to the east.
And do you think that, actually, I think this afternoon it's bright and sunny out there for much of the area now, but I think mid and later today we're going to probably see some mid and high level cloudiness kind of softening the sun up a bit. But still, it should turn out to be a nice day. Certainly not as harsh with much less wind, and already, as you pointed out, already in the 50s. So it feels a lot better out there as opposed to yesterday, where every moment you stepped outside, it was just ouch. It
Oh,
just
it hurt yesterday. It just hurt.
yeah, yeah.
Some showers on the radar right now. Southern Wisconsin, also back across northern Michigan. So that's that northern energy. And the radar over Florida looks kind of odd because the southern part of Florida is socked in with heavy rain. Draw a line from, say, Naples to, um, I'm sorry, draw a line maybe, say, from Fort Myers eastward to probably West Palm Beach. From there south, it's a solid wall of rain. North of there, until you get up into northern Florida, uh, there's not really much going on, and then suddenly you've got another band of solid. It's the oddest looking radar, but but if it's not raining in where it's not raining in Florida, there it is a solid overcast today. And otherwise, when you look at the radar at the rest of the country, as we said, pretty quiet. The low pressure now in over Lake Michigan. There's our northern stream system. You've got this stationary frontal boundary running across the Gulf of Mexico, across the state of Florida, and the overrunning precip that you're getting there. Otherwise, you still have, it's still kind of windy here. It's not as windy as it was yesterday, but you still have this wrapped up low. Uh, what I always forget, the coastal waters between Newfoundland and New Brunswick. What is that?
The coastal waters between New Brunswick and
And Newfoundland.
what body of water is
Yeah,
that?
what is that? The Bay of, is that, I forget.
No, it's not the Bay of Fundy. It's I don't know off the
The
top of
Bay
my.
of Tuesday? Is that Yeah,
I'm
what
look,
is, I forget.
I'm looking at my little atlas here to see if I can pull that out for you. But keep talking in the meantime. I
Well, the gradient still, actually the gradient is still, it's not as tight as yesterday, but it's still there. So
oh
it is.
the Gulf of St.
Oh,
Lawrence.
that's right. Yes, the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Oh, I should have remembered that for God's sake. Um, you know, it's tough growing old.
Yes.
So yeah, here's our. You see the plot here at 12Z. The isobars are still fairly tight, but again, not as tight as yesterday. So this northern energy here that's dropping southeastward is basically doing it under the influence of the system that developed Friday and Saturday that is now up in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and still producing some gusty winds in southeastern Canada. Uh, in the meantime, north and west of that low over Lake Michigan is another cold high. What is there is a Joe? There's a 1050. I didn't even think to look up in Canada right now. Way up. But
Right.
the flow from it extends down into Minnesota and into Iowa and Missouri. There's a 1053 high sitting up there. You've got temperatures that are mostly in the teens and single digits. I can even see a below zero. I don't know what town that is up in Canada. So that's another cold high that's coming down. Now, some of that cold, that cooler, that chilly air is going to get in here tomorrow and into Tuesday. But I'm sorry, not tomorrow so much, but Tuesday into early Wednesday. But it's not going to be as obviously it's not going to be as cold as that. But we're still under that chilly flow that you showed on one of your Facebook posts where you had the showing the flow coming out from northern Canada all the way into the eastern part of the United States.
Right. Literally, like right from the Arctic Ocean, you make a beeline straight from there right on down into our area, and that was one good reason why yesterday it was so dang cold. Of course, we didn't have the situation like we did, let's say, in February and March, where everything was bottled up by the polar vortex and the Arctic Oscillation was in record positive territory. None of that existed yesterday, though.
Yeah, none of that definitely none of that existed yesterday. I'm just going to bring up that upper air that you were describing, and I'm just going to go back to yesterday. So if you just follow the flow, folks, this is a cold upper air pattern. Make no mistake. If you just follow the flow, it comes from right up in the Arctic regions down through central Canada and then swings right into the east coast of the United States. This is the upper trough that moved through yesterday. This I just circled over the Dakotas. That is the system, the upper air system that is swinging through here for tomorrow. And if you watch as the first trough pulls out, the next one comes right in. And it's only later this week that you finally start to see a change in this to an extent. When we go toward the end of the week, the flow is more westerly, which is a lot better. At least Canada. It's not that the cold air is gone. There are still pockets of cold air around, but with the flow relaxing, I think that should allow for temperatures to get us back at least to average. And by the middle of next week, Joe, the average high temperature is up close to 70. So that's a good thing. If we could just get things to get back, relax, to get back to normal, we should be able to make a run for temperatures back up above 70 before too long.
In fact, Joe, I would have to say, looking at the stuff from yesterday and last night, I would say that on Friday, before the next weather front, the next weather disturbance moves in, probably dampening our pleasure for the start of the upcoming weekend, next weekend, I would say that we have a shot at mid, maybe even upper 70s in places when we get to Friday. A big change over what we went through just 24 hours ago.
All right, so let's take a look at what the models are showing. Uh, the
And
GFS on the surface, since we just did the upper air. So
our good friend Mr. Casper, when he was on CBS2 many years ago, when we had those rare midsummer days where the flow was similarly from the Arctic region or the Yukon regions of Northwest Canada and flowed right into the New York area with those blue skies and pleasantly, balmy 70s and low humidity days. He used to say that you could smell the Canadian pines
no,
in
I
that kind
remember, sure.
of
And
fair,
you actually could smell the Canadian pines.
take a good whiff, so to speak.
The front for tomorrow swings on through. Low pressure, actually, the surface low goes into western New York and then kind of moves its way across New England. The Florida issue today, a little wave develops, a little low develops northeast of the Bahamas and then runs out to the east northeast. So, as I said, those two systems never really get together. Then it looks like we should be okay. I mean, a bit on the chilly side, certainly Tuesday, with thicknesses in the 520s. But that'll probably mean that it won't be getting out of the 50s on Tuesday. Compared to yesterday, that works fine for me. Wednesday might start to see a little recovery back into the 60s, and I think Thursday, if we can keep showers out of here until Thursday night, we could see temperatures make a run for 70 in some places. And I agree with you on Friday with a low going by in southern Canada and a west-southwest flow here. As long as we don't have any issues with too many clouds, we could see temperatures get well up into the 70s before the next cold front comes through. I would point out that the GFS still is trying to form some kind of surface low east of the Bahamas late next week on last night's run, and it sort of has it spinning there off the North Carolina coast. I don't want to get into, I really didn't spend any kind of time looking at whether something tropical may come out of that or not. It's way too early anyway. But I think as we go through this week, if we still see the models doing that, we'll take a closer look and see if there's anything viable there. And I'm just happy to see, at least as we go through later this coming week, and then next week, that this unrelenting flow from Canada, while it doesn't completely disappear, at least it relaxes so that we're not dealing with all this extreme nonsense like yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was, you go back 151 years before yesterday at Central Park, we only had three other cases where it snowed just a trace in Central Park or in New York City. So it's basically what we went through yesterday is a 1 in 50 year on average event. And of course, the last time it happened prior to yesterday was 1977. That was like over 40 years ago. So um, I don't know if you and I are going to still be here when the next round comes in about 40 or 50 years, but at least we could say that we were here yesterday for what got us in terms of snow and cold weather.
Um, who can you see who hit super chat?
Mr. Briller, Mr. Birthday Boy, and he says, have a cigar and candy cigarettes.
Thank you, Scott. Happy birthday to you. And really enjoy your day, and best to your mom too on this Mother's Day. Uh, Reaver 501. Does anyone know how to block a troll on Reaver's Facebook page who keeps making fun of me? Okay. Hey, Reaver, I'm just kind of curious because I just got rid of, there was a troll that I got rid of well over a year or two ago, and I think he reinvented his he created a new Facebook page and came online and started his nonsense again, and I got rid of him. What's the guy's name? I would be very, very curious. So let me know. Just trying to see. Everybody else is they're doing their posting here. Uh, are you? I already went for my walk. I did my Joe. I did 7 miles this morning, so which was good. I got up nice and early. I came back. I made my fruit shake in the blender. I'm feeling good today.
Did you have a problem? Did you get your mom? This is not an indelicate question. Everybody does this. Did you go out and get a Mother's Day card for your mom?
No.
No. Did anybody on the chat board end up with the same problem that I did? I usually go to Walmart to get a Mother's Day card for my mom. No Mother's Day cards, and this was back on Wednesday in
Yeah.
the part of the day. You go to the spot where they sell cards, the Mother's Day section, nothing, and I don't understand why that was.
I'm not. You know what? I'm not a big card person. It's just not my thing. I don't know. It's just me. But what I did do yesterday was I got in my car and I went to see her. So I think that should be a little bit that should work better than a card.
So you came all the way from Long Island and went up to Westchester.
Yeah, I went up to Westchester to see her and had and spent some time.
So you should have come a little further north up here.
I could have. I wasn't invited. I
Oh,
wasn't asked.
you're always invited, Joe.
Well,
You're
thank
always
you.
invited. Wasn't I when we were together? Wasn't I like a mother to you?
Oh, you were a mother, all right. There's a there's a blank line that follows that word. But we're a family show,
Yes.
and so we're not going to go down that particular
Okay.
road.
All right. All right.
Oh, is it Sal Blandino? No, Sal's all. Poor Sal. He gets off his meds every once in a while, and then he he gets all upset whenever we get just clouds coming into the picture.
Oh, yes.
He's got a ton of girlfriends, and he just, it ruins his relationships with them when it's overcast. So I try to be nice to Sal.
Yes, I've gotten messages from Mr. Blandino as well, complaining about endless days of clouds and wet weather. And why can't we have some dry weather for the week? Or we may have promised initially nice weather for a weekend, and then we change our minds and say, oh, well, we're going to have a backdoor front or some offshore system. And that's when we start hearing it from Sal. They say, why can't we get nice weather for a change? This is the 16th straight weekend of lousy weather.
I know, poor Sal. Well, yeah, listen, just it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of us energy wise to orchestrate the kind of weather that we had yesterday. I mean, it takes so much energy that we can't really do it except for maybe once every 40 years or so.
All right. I don't want to keep you from your mom's um, internet Mother's Day greetings or whatever. It's 11:29, so I guess we can call it
All
a.
right, let's call it a day.
All
Thanks
right.
everybody for being here on this summery Sunday compared to yesterday. Hope everybody got to see the cheap thrill with the snow. I hope you were able to stay warm too. So have a great Sunday. Tomorrow, regular time, 7 o'clock. C'est la vie. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day and happy birthday, Aunt Vivian.